USA, all the way from Canada. We drove across the continent, from Nova Scotia to Pasadena. My sister and me and my mom and dad, from the cold to the sunny south. There were palm trees growing and it was not snowing, and I never did shut my mouth. Well, we drove on over to the courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. Put our hands on a Bible and we swore as a family that we were not communists. When we drove away, I started to cry. They said, "What's wrong, son? Are you sick?" I said, "I don't want to be an American. I want to be a Catholic." We talk Hollywood and baseball in the car. The voice of Vin Scully, oh man, it will travel really far. Vin Scully, what a voice he has. Do you know he's still calling games to the Los Angeles Dodgers? And he's like 87 years old. This is the last year he's going to do it. You can tune on the internet. I really recommend it, even if you don't even understand baseball, tune in just to listen to Vin Scully call a game. I've been listening to him since the early 60s when we moved to the United States from Canada, and we would pull weeds, and I would hear his voice on an AM radio calling the game, and it's such a beautiful, he has a reedy tenor voice, like really pure, and it's like, coming up in the top of the ninth inning, Sandy Koufax walks out to the mound and he's up to his hips in alligators. There's an airy spiderweb shadow coming in. Chavez remains in the right field line. Get your Dodger dogs here. Hot dogs over there on aisle 23. If I hear that voice, it just brings me a sense of peace. Well, I made my first communion at St. Rita's Catholic Church. There was incense choking and a priest was smoking. There was a choir up in the perch. My face got red and my stomach felt bad. They said, "If you're gonna get sick, use a cup." Well, I thought by the time it was my turn for communion, Jesus would be all eaten up. See, I wanted the leg. I wanted the dark meat when they told us we were going to eat Jesus' body. I took it seriously. We talk Hollywood, the baseball in the cup, the voice of Jack Buck. Man, it would travel really far. I would tell you to tune into Jack Buck, but you can only do it on YouTube these days because he's dead. Boy, his voice was totally different than Vin Scully's voice. Vin's that you just heard was reedy and tenoresque. But Jack Buck, it was like he reached in the back of his throat and ripped his vocal cords out. Threw them in a glass and poured Jack Daniels on top of the glass and let them soak. And then when the whiskey evaporated, he smoked a big fat Cuban cigar and blew smoke on his own tonsils. It was amazing what his voice sounded like.
Mark McGuire, going after the home run record set by Roger Maris of 61 home runs in 1961 when he beat Babe Ruth's record. I don't believe what I just saw.
Well, my allergies were bad, so we moved to the desert to a city called Palm Springs. We trick-or-treated at Liberace's house. Each finger had a diamond ring. I'm not kidding you either. Liberace lived in Palm Springs. Do you know how cool that is to go trick-or-treating at his house on Halloween for candy? And he gave the best candy, like huge Snickers bars. Some people would give you really bad candy, but Liberace would stand there with that blonde chauffeur behind him. The chauffeur would have a big boa around his neck, and Liberace would answer the door and go, "Hello kids, have a Snickers bar." And then we go out back home and change costumes from Batman to Superman to Casper the Friendly Ghost. We get like 3 Snickers bars, just come back in disguise. We trick-or-treated at Liberace's house. Each finger had a diamond ring. We met Elvis Presley in the middle of the summer, and he hugged my sister for far too long. The only reason he did that is because my sister had boobs already. She was like 13, but she looked like she was 18. To Elvis Presley's credit. And so I didn't know what to do. I didn't even notice my sister's boobs till that day. Not that I ever looked at them, but well, once I did. But then Elvis Presley picked me up and put me on his shoulders and swung me round and round. Did this to my hair, he goes, "Sounds like your kid's been a runner." And I said, "Yeah, to catch you, Elvis." And then he said, "Your sister sure is pretty." And I said, "It's okay, Elvis, you can have her." Then he gave me his autograph on a piece of paper he casually ripped out of a notebook he was holding. It was 1969. He was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. He would have talked to us forever until one of his assistants came up and said, "Come on, boss, we gotta go." So we waved goodbye to the king, rode our bikes home high on the trail of success. Nothing could ruin our happy blues. Sure, the Vietnam War was looming over us, and assassinations and drug overdoses were all over the papers. But all we knew was Elvis Presley was our best friend, and we were fans for life. I'll never forget him driving off in a black limousine, Lincoln Continental limousine. He rolled down the back window as he drove away and kept waving to us. He never seemed to be in a hurry. He was peaceful, calm, zen Elvis. And that's how I'll always remember him. When I got home that night, I pulled my trusty guitar out of the case and I practiced for hours and hours and hours. And that was the night I learned how to play I Can't Help Falling in Love with You and Blue Suede Shoes. Cause you know what, people at the famous Spiegeltent in Canberra? Life. It's full of memory markers. Some memories are brighter than others and some just fade away. But this is one memory marker I'll remember my whole life. The day I met peaceful, zen Elvis and offered him my sister. Now one of my earliest memories was John Kennedy getting shot. And my mom was a-crying and ironing clothes. My face felt really hot. I watched the funeral on TV. It was there in black and white. I saw a son salute his father's flag draped coffin and things did not seem right. I saw a war start overseas in a place called Vietnam. There were protests in the streets at night. There were rioters on the lam. I watched the president say to us that he was not a crook. The next thing you know, he resigned. You could read about it in a book. Now here I am, a growing up boy at home on the 4th of July. I'm staring out at the ocean and the fireworks in the sky. I miss my friends who aren't around, the ones who passed away. Well, I'm a-feeling kinda grateful here on Independence Day. We talk Hollywood, baseball in the car, the voice of Harry Carey. Oh man, it would travel really far. Now Harry Carey, he's dead too, but he had a whole different kind of voice. He had what I call a drunk voice, a crazy drunk uncle voice. Now, the announcer I just did before that, who took his vocal cords out and dipped them in Jack Daniels, that was Jack Buck. Now, Jack Buck was the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals, but prior to him being the voice of them, the guy I just sang about, Harry Carey, that I'm about to sing about, Harry Carey was the voice of the St. Louis Cardinals. But check it out, he got traded to the Chicago Cubs. You know why? Because the Cardinals were owned by Augie Busch, who owned Budweiser beers. And guess what? Harry Carey, when he was the announcer for the St. Louis Cardinals, slept with Augie Busch's wife and got caught. You can't sleep with the owner of the team's wife, especially when he owns Budweiser. So they traded him to the Chicago Cubs, where he didn't drink Bud no more. He drank a beer called Old Style. And Harry Carey would drink that Old Style beer over there by Wakeland Avenue. When he announced players' names, like say the Chicago Cubs were playing the Cincinnati Reds, and maybe Davey Concepcion was coming up, Harry Carey could never pronounce a Hispanic player's name, and he'd be drunk, and this is what he'd sound like. Come up with a taco, I did it. Now you're supposed to say Davey Concepcion. Come up with a taco, I did it. Dino Concepcion. Get your old style here. Holy cow. Hollywood and baseball in a car. The voice of Harry Carey and Elvis Presley, they'll always travel really far. I get allergies and asthma in the yard, and no one ever told me growing up would be so hard. Get your dodger dog.